So, the Pokemon leak. Um, that's been a crazy thing that's been going on recently. As well as that whole Kaba and Gogeta thing, but I'm not talking about that here, nor will I think I'd ever talk about it. Unless it gets turned into a what if. Whatever. But yeah, obviously I'm going to be talking about the main issue about that leak, which is the apparent relations between humans and Pokemon. And honestly, I don't really find that too freaky like a lot of people. Now granted, I do, I grew up with Pokemon, so you'd expect me to be kind of freaked out about it, but I am not. Yeah, it's just, to me anyway, it's just like one of those things that's like, I expect something like this to happen within like the actual game or whatnot. Well, not game, but lore. Because, yeah, because obviously something like that is going to happen when you have this type of stuff. I mean, it happens in real life. Why should it not happen in the world? Obviously, it doesn't have to be a main part of the thing, but, because preferably I do like the subtle or implication that is something happening, because obviously this type of stuff has been hinted at or implied to have happened before in Pokemon games. Well, not just in the game, but animes as well. Like, for example, the abuse of the Slack-offs. In the Pokemon game, Cubone in Red, Cubone's mother is killed and is basically haunting Lavender Town, which is basically a Pokemon graveyard. In the Pokemon anime, Ash's Charmander was, I think it was implied that it was abused, but it was mainly abandoned and left to die in the rain. So yeah, so obviously the Slack-offs, or that lady basically getting beaten. So basically those people beating and brutalizing Slack-offs, basically abusing Pokemons. It's just something that isn't too surprising for me. Now obviously the pregnancy thing, it's it is kind of odd, but again, it's something I didn't really think too much about, because before, I think it was still in the Japanese version or in a different version of one of the games, but it has been stated that Pokemon and human used to marry, and if we're gonna marry, obviously you're gonna boink at some point. But yeah, so that's really why it didn't really shock me as much as it did a lot of people. Now what about something like with Typhlosion and whatnot, where it basically took an underage girl? Again, it is still under the same pretense of Pokemon and human getting married at some point. Again, they didn't bring too much thought into it, or not thought, shock to it. But the fact that it's an underage girl should raise some suspicions, right? But again, we still have Pokemon being freaks like that. I mean, Hypno, at the very early Pokedex entry, Hypno, hypnotizing and kidnapped children. So, yeah. Again, this is just something that didn't really shock me too much. And honestly, it's because of these earlier things that happened why it doesn't really shock me. So yeah, if anything, this just seems more like a finding the limit type of thing, because like I'm pretty sure fans of Team 4 Star are gonna know about this. But if you don't know, the creators of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, Lanny, Nick, and Scott, basically they have their own writing distinction. And if you watch the commentary, they talk more in detail about that. But basically, Kaiser, who had, I believe he's the one with the VTuber model, Kaiser was the one who always pushed a joke to its absolute limit, to which the others, mainly Nick, would have to backpedal. We'll have to backpedal, so it can either be a good merging for Kaiser's humor, but Scott's preference to have in the show. And honestly, that's what it just seems like it is to me. It's like somebody at Game Freak wanted to find the limit, wanted to find the line. They found it with this, and they just left it there to, for later use. Because if they're going to use it, they're obviously going to change it. Because there is one thing that I've found in these stories, that all have an underlying theme that is essential to Pokemon, which is companionship. Each of these stories, even though it is kind of fucked up for Pokemon, still has the, traditional companionship that Pokemon is known for. Again, with the going off the slack off thing, going back to the slack off thing, the woman basically, even though she gave birth and had a child she gave birth to a slack off, it was still her companion. And even though, yeah, her friends basically killed it and showed its dead body to her, her old friends basically ends up becoming companions with slack-offs. Going to the Typhlosion thing, again, even though it took an underage girl as his mate, it was still basically its companion. I can't really say too much about the other stuff because I don't know too much about the other stuff, but I'm pretty sure the others still have the same thing. Ponyta, again, a companion. The Octo, whatever it's called, even though it's very loose in that one, it still has a companionship to it. Obviously, if they were to actually use these in the Pokemon game, they would obviously rewrite it. Like, for example, for the slack-off, they would probably nowadays they would tone down the abuse narrative and just probably, say, yeah, they beat them up and abuse them. That's about it. Won't go into too much detail about it. They would either imply the forced relation that she got forced on and had a child and had a slack off as a child, or they would just cut that part out entirely. I personally think they would just cut it out entirely if the story made it into a game. Like, that part would have been cut out entirely. She would have found a beaten slack off, healed it, and basically treat it like a child. Only for, once again to get brutalized, she takes it and runs away into the forest. We are not told that she kills herself, but basically that she was never found. Again, that's just a simple fix that I've done to where it could have most likely been in the Pokemon game. And again, some other stuff could obviously be the same way. Again, like the Typhlosion, you can just get rid of the whole Typhlosion gaslighting this kid, or probably just get rid of the fact that the Typhlosion is killed, or that kid has a kid herself, and all that. Again, it's just, to me, it's just a way that they found a line, and if they are going to use it, they are going to rewrite it. That's just how it is to me. Now, I'm pretty sure people are just gonna say, oh, I'm desensitized because I goon a lot and all that crap. You can think what you want. I technically I really do not care. I just have a way of thinking things, and that's basically how I think of it. It's just a way that they found a line, and if they want to reuse this stuff, they are going to rewrite it. But, that's just my thought process, my theory about all this. Obviously, I've seen other people make their own theories. Like, I guess a popular one I've seen is people saying that this is like a mythology story. Because in the real life, mythology is freaking weird as well. Like, didn't Zeus, like, boink a bunch of women as a goose? So if freaking real life can have weird mythology, why can't something like Pokemon? But yeah. But I still firmly believe that this is just that they just found a line, and if they want to use it, they'll rewrite it. That's basically what I like to think of it. If it turns out that isn't the case, then obviously I'll own up to it. I'll own up that I was wrong, and yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the flags indicate what I think about sex and all that crap, and yeah. But anyway, that's really all I gotta say. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Does this leak of the story really freak you out? Or do you have your own kind of theories on why this is in the office at Game Freak? I personally have another theory that this is just something that you know, they maybe want to test out because obviously, Power World is basically making them nervous. And you know, Power World is basically kind of like a darker, more mature-esque version of Pokemon. Because Power World is not afraid to imply, hey, that yes, these pals and people do have sex and all that crap. Isn't there a freaking pal that's just like, it will mate with anything, even humans and all that. So if that really is what Pokemon wants to do, wants to compete with Power World, because I personally don't think they're going to win the lawsuit. Yeah, they want to compete with Power World. They want to do something a little bit darker or more mature. You know, this is something they could do as well. I see that one as a solid theory, but I still am the firm believer that this is more of a finding the line type of deal. But anyway, yeah, that's really all I got to say. Fireblade here, and I will see you later. Bye-bye. Ah, damn it.